Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure to like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So today we are currently 65 days away from our first midterm primaries. The primaries will be taking place in the state of Texas. Obviously there is a little bit of a gap between the Texas primary and the next primary, but nonetheless the primaries are upon us. We're going to be focused a lot on primaries, more so than even the general within the next few months or so, because that's really what will determine the outcome of what happens when these people get in power. If you keep putting in these diet conservatives, we don't want any more diet conservatives, okay? We don't want that to happen. In fact, this conservatism is anything but diet conservatism. We could even call it Stacey Abrams conservatism being what we need. Obviously not Stacey Abrams, but the fact is Stacey Abrams is definitely not on a diet. And that's the point that I was trying to make, because we need to go big and we need to go bold. We need authentic conservatives who fight for the American people. We don't need these pushovers, these lazy, weak establishment chumps. And I know we're not going to be able to get rid of all of them, obviously. This is more of a pragmatic thing. But if we can at least get a caucus in there, like a more authentically conservative Tea Party type thing that can push the party on the right issues in the right direction, then I think we would be good. Obviously, the Tea Party failed because they were controlled opposition. All they really cared about was the deficit. That was roughly about it. However, if we can get America First politicians in the mold of 2016 Trump, get a caucus of those people in there, guys, the sky is the limit. And currently we're 65 days away. The countdown is on the screen as we speak. And we're going to get into 5 bold predictions. I want to do a bold prediction series. We're going to do 5 bold predictions about the primaries. I have 5 bold ones for the general. These will both likely be updated, especially the ones for the general as we get closer. I think I'll drop the general election one probably sometime later this week. But nonetheless, this would not be a complete video if I would not tell you guys about my very good friends over at My Patriot Supply. The coming year is likely to bring more painful surprises. Are you ready? Do you have a plan in case of food shortages, power outages, emergency evacuations, and mandates? Because you should. You should always prepare before these things happen. That's why we recommend getting emergency food from My Patriot Supply. They're America's #1 preparedness company with several million happy, well-prepared customers. Their food lasts up to 25 years in storage. It's like a survival insurance policy that you can eat. When you need it, it'll be there. And right now, you'll save $100 on a 3-month supply from My Patriot Supply that will get you through any difficulties ahead. You get breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, averaging over 2,000 calories a day. And they are selling fast, so hurry and act right now. Go to preparewithredeagle.com and claim your $100 off on your 3-month food kit. Again, that is preparewithredeagle.com. So I want to get into my first bold prediction about the GOP primaries here. And what we do know is that in the 2020 primaries, there were quite a few retirements, mainly on the Republican side. Not all of these were voluntary, by the way. A lot of these were forced in primaries. And what we do know is that 5 House Republican incumbents lost their primaries, 4 of them to anti-establishment challengers. Some of them were grassroots and not even endorsed by Trump, by the way. And I predict that this time, with the anger coming from the base at the Republican Party, how they handled the aftermath of 2020, how they've been caving into Biden's agenda at every step or turn, I think we're going to double that number. You're going to see 10 Republican House incumbents lose their primaries, and it's not just going to come from the impeachment 10. That is part of it. However, I think there's going to be a lot more, and we're going to see this here as well within the coming months. So that's really my first bold prediction, and it's really conceivable because the anti-establishment energy really wasn't there, and Trump is now endorsing a lot more anti-establishment candidates, and I think that number would be a lot higher if it weren't for retirements. Obviously, there are some primaries that are going to be extremely high profile in open seats where we could get America First candidates in there, but this is really going to focus on the GOP House incumbents that are going to lose their primaries that are already there. They're incumbents, obviously. So I want to move on to number 2 here. And this ties in with number 3, but we're going to get to number 2. There was this article from the New York Times that says the Republican Party is energized, but Trump cancel culture, whatever that means. Notice how they always like to use the right's terminology, like 2 years after the right popularizes something. Like they did that with like snowflake, and now they're doing it with cancel culture. And we see this here, the New York Times, Trump cancel culture is posing a threat. And it goes on and on and on to talk about how Trump is so awful for challenging the GOP establishment and how he's so bad. And honestly, bold prediction number 2 is that I think at least one GOP senator will lose their primary. At least one, possibly more than that. And the reason why I'm not saying 2 is because there are rumors that John Thune is going to retire soon, and we understand this. And it goes on, the article actually talks about Lisa Murkowski. And she is very, very complacent for some reason. She is extremely complacent. She believes that she is, as of right now, she thinks that she's going to be just fine. She says, well, actually, the lower 48's trying to kick me out, trying to do an us versus them kind of thing. But if you look at all of her donations, a lot of the highest donors for Lisa Murkowski don't live in Alaska, ironically enough. It's funny. In fact, the lower 48 has held that seat up in Alaska for way too long. Hopefully, she'll get primaried out. Republican Governor Mike Dunleavy actually said he may not even support her, but we'll have to see. But the senators, obviously, Trump may endorse a challenger to Lankford, who is awful. I covered this in my Senate primary video as well. And obviously, I think it could be a lot more if Trump took a stand in Idaho and South Carolina and Arkansas and some of these other states. But you never know, because the Republicans are fed up. They're angry. They don't care about the establishment that does not represent their interests anymore. They are going to take a stand in these primaries. And obviously, it's not going to be perfect. We know that there are independents that are moderate, centrist neoliberals and people on the left that will occasionally cross over and vote in the Republican primaries in some of these red states. But nevertheless, I really think that you're going to see at least one senator, possibly more, go down, especially you talk about Oklahoma, Alaska, and South Dakota. Those are the big ones, and maybe a long shot will be thrown in there. And it could get close in another state. Just keep that in mind as well. But also number 3, and this talks about this in this paragraph, is that at least 2 Republican governors are going to lose their primaries. Now, I do believe that people like Greg Abbott and Kristi Noem, you're looking at their policy recently. They are moving to the right on policy because they are trying to get elected. Obviously, when they get another term, it's going to go probably back to business as usual. But nonetheless, primaries help, even if they're successful or not, in terms of getting things done. You saw that in Georgia. You saw that in Texas with a lot of the bills that Greg Abbott signed earlier this year. But you look and you see what's happening in Georgia. Perdue and Kemp, polls show conflicting things, but most polls have Kemp going to a runoff, and a lot of those people who support, Vernon Jones or some of these other minor candidates will likely get behind Perdue. Again, Purdue's not perfect, just like Renacci in Ohio is not perfect, but Renacci and Perdue, and now Kay Ivey's getting challenged. Trump might endorse that challenger. Idaho, there's a challenger in Idaho. Folks, it very well could happen. 2 GOP governors, if not more, will lose their primaries. And that is a bold prediction. These bold predictions may not come true, but if they do come true, it's a I told you so moment. I will say that. So number 4, we're going to get to 4, then we'll do a bonus one, then we'll get to number 5. So number 4 is that in Washington's 3rd congressional district, Joe Kent and a Democrat are going to make the runoff here, and Jamie Herrera Buelter will be froze out of it. Now, this does make sense, and polls have backed this up because there's only one main Democrat that's really in the race, and Lucy Louser, actually, who prevented Brent Heinrich in this poll, dropped out. And Kent and Buelter, a lot of people were saying that they're going to be the runoff. No, Brent Heinrich is the main Democrat, and Republicans are lining up behind Joe Kent. The spineless people in the middle are probably going to back Buelter, but it's not going to be enough in this district in Washington state. Kent's going to go out there, and you'll have an America First congressman in Washington's 3rd congressional district. And that is a massive, massive victory. He'll join that Gosar, caucus. It might not be as good as Gosar, obviously, but he's great. He's a great candidate. He's good on pretty much all of the issues, and I firmly believe that this is going to happen. And a lot of these neocon weak individuals will be seething that Trump has taken control. But not just Trump. Trump's movement has taken control of the Republican Party. It is a national populist party now, and we see this. So that's number 4. I want to get to one honorable mention. And this article obviously talks about Lauren Boebert and her victory, even though Trump endorsed the, rhino congressman, because Trump does this sometimes, and he's gotten better this year. I give him a lot of credit. I wonder if he's been watching my videos and listening to me. I'm sure somebody in his campaign is. But nonetheless, the Trump-endorsed candidate lost to a grassroots primary challenger. I think that this prediction will say that several Trump-endorsed candidates will end up losing to grassroots challengers from the right, as they did in 2020, because it happened on several occasions in 2020. It is going to happen again in some cases in 2022. That does not mean Trump's influence has diminished, but it just means that the base is going to go behind the better candidate, and Trump doesn't always select the best person for the job. And we know this. But this is number 5, the final bold prediction. It's also specific to several races, mainly in the Rust Belt, mainly in the Midwest. Technically not Pennsylvania's in the Midwest, but Oz and Mandel, as well as Dean Heller in Nevada, are all going to lose their primaries. All these are establishment choices. We understand that. Oz is even getting backed up by quite a few people, quite a few of these characters in the Pennsylvania Congress are backing up Oz, and Oz is shooting up in the polls right now. But I think it's going to be short-lived. Again, he's going out there, and he's supporting men, essentially, playing in women's sports as well. He's saying, well, we need to have compassion. Yeah, that's not going to go over well with voters. And his past track record on various issues like gun control, I believe it's going to catch up to him. I don't know who the candidate that's going to replace him is, but I honestly, at this point, just because of the added dirt, I will retract this notion that Oz is invincible in the primary. Hopefully somebody else will rise up and beat him. I just don't know who it is yet, but I have a feeling he'll go down. And in Ohio, I think Mandel. Mandel's the establishment choice. Everybody knows that I've, critiqued Vance as well at times based off of his track record, and I don't really support a specific candidate, but Mandel is just downright awful. Personally, I think Mandel is going to go down in the primary. Gibbons or Vance will end up catching up to him at some point, and I think that Trump, he'll either stay out of the race or he will not endorse Mandel, because I think Trump knows that Mandel is just so fake. He's so phony. We're going to do a video about that at another time, but beyond that point, I don't think Trafalgar did a poll for Dean Heller, but Dean Heller was up in the early polls as well, just like Mandel and Oz. So despite leading in the early polls, even in the accurate early polls like Trafalgar, I believe that these 3 characters, these rhinos, these fakes, are going to lose their primaries. So anyways, guys, 65 days to go, and it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens, but we'll see how many of these hold up. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle out.